A couple of days ago, Manus came out with wide research. Now, we've heard of Google Deep Research and ChatGPT's Deep Research tool, but what is wide research and how is it going to help you learn things faster and make more money online? Well, today that's what we're going to talk about because it's kind of an elusive term, wide research, deep research. I mean, you think about it and it seems like deep research would be like going deep into a book, whereas wide research would be like getting a bunch of books. But I think it's actually missing the point here. There's actually something hidden in the Manus tool that a lot of people are ignoring that I'm using in my business on a day-to-day basis to get crazy results. It's almost like having several employees for just $200 a month, pretty much there to do any research task, coding task, content creation task, pretty much anything I want. And at a glance, it might seem like Manus is kind of expensive at $200 a month for the Pro plan. However, I think what you're going to learn in this video might change your mind. Because over my years of being an affiliate marketer, internet marketer, and plain old guy making money online, I've learned a few things. Some things that give me an unfair advantage when it comes to being able to build a business. And that is the way that I understand the internet, how it works, and how I research things in a super specific way to get the outcome that I need. This is where Manus comes in. Manus is actually giving you that unfair advantage. It understands the web, sad to say, better than I do. And because of that, we can use Manus to research any topic and get us the specific data that we need for our business. This is super important because let's face it, anyone and everyone has access to AI tools. So there's no real advantage to just using tools to make content. However, understanding how to use the tools, this is important. And while many people ignore Manus because it's $200, for me, that's missing the point entirely. And not only that, but this video, I'm going to show you how to pair other tools with Manus so you can get an outcome unlike anything you've ever seen that'll help you build your business. So if you're excited, smash that like button. Let's fire up Manus Wide Research, and I'm going to show you exactly how I'm using it in my business right here, right now. Come on, let's go to work. All right, so first of all, what is this wide research? How does it work? How are we going to use it? The whole 9 yards. In order to get this to work, all you need to do, and this was kind of confusing at first, is you need to ask it to use wide research. There's no like short code or magic thing or anything. You just want to tell it, okay, use wide research. And then you'll know it's going to actually use the wide research because it'll pop up this box here. It'll do the preliminary research. You can see this one I'm doing on all kinds of different AI tools and micro software as a service tools here. And then it's going to go through and say, hey, this is how many credits it's going to take, and here's how it's going to work. Now, I did notice the first task that I actually did, which was a pretty big one over here, it said it was going to take 10,000 credits. I think it's right over here somewhere, right over this one, where I went through and had it go and look at all the blogs that make money online. I wanted it to find like 200 different blogs, 200 different niches and things like that. And when it came up with the preliminary results, it actually went through and said, hey, this is going to cost you like 10,000 credits, which, I mean, theoretically, that'd be like $100 for my Manus credits, right? Which would be kind of expensive. However, I did find that as it did the research on that one, it was more like 300 or 270 or something like that. So it wasn't really that much. I think the highest one, find the blog. So this one was 1,100. So roughly $10 to get that report. Now, the question I have is it actually worth it? How am I going to use it, and what am I going to do with it? A lot of this reminds me of back in the early days of making money, where people talked about like PLR or private label rights, where a lot of people would get a bunch of junky products, they'd have them on their computer, and they'd think they were worth money. But at the end of the day, it was only a few people who knew how to use them that actually worked it. So it wasn't the greatest business model, even though right now there's a ton of people all over social media saying that is the be-all end-all. It's really not. A lot of people just have a bunch of junk that they can't sell. So what we don't want is we don't want to pay $10 for a report that we're not going to use. This is something that's very important because even with content, right? Paying for content, if you're not going to use it, then it's just wasting your time and money. And, you know, time is more important. So we need to really focus on what we want. That's why these tools can be so helpful if you understand what you're using them for. Now, when I go through and I use this, I need to understand the difference between deep research and wide research. This is an example of Google Gemini deep research where I went through and I said, hey, give me blog income reports and analysis. So right there, it's basically the same task. Okay, so here's wide research, here is deep research. What Gemini came up with is an overview of the landscape of transparent earnings in the creator economy. So it went through and got like a report, talked about page views, didn't really get me that list, which is what I wanted, right? I really wanted that list of like, here's all the sites. Now it did have some in the travel sector, some in the food, some over here in gurus and stuff like that, but it didn't have that giant list of 200, which is what I really wanted because I'm very specific about what I want and how it's going to make money. So going through here and looking at this type of content, where I'm like, okay, here is our Excel file of all the different blogs and how they're making money and everything like that. And it actually went through and did all the research. You can go through, you can see it's got the domain name, it's got the niche, it's got literally anything and everything in a file right like this. It shows how they're making money and it just keeps going and going. There's a ton of info here. So this is something where I can actually go through and see at a glance, here's a food blog, made 21 bucks. Here's a finance one, $30 million. Here's a budgeting one. And I can see how they're making money, how they grew, and literally everything. This would be similar to if I had an employee or an outsourcer spend a whole week trying to find this info. And this is something that Manus AI came up with in a couple of hours. Now, the way that we're going to use this is important because what I look at this is not just another Excel file. Just like when I get content, I'm not looking at it as another report, another article. The internet doesn't need more articles, content, Excel files. What it needs is things structured so people can see it in a bite-sized way. Think of it this way. I can go to Manus whatever, and I can learn everything about Manus from their videos and their spreadsheets and their PDFs and their reports and everything like that. However, that's going to take me forever to do. What I do need is here's how to use Manus as an affiliate marketer or as a gym owner or whatever it is. So what we're doing is we're getting very specialized information. So what you're going to see here is it's going to do this preliminary idea. So here's like, okay, different tools and things like that. When I hit start, that's when it fires up its multitasking computer. So what's going to happen is it's going to have multiple levels searching out all these things. That's why it's called wide research. Think of it like a big team that's searching all of the internet for the stuff you want. And you're going to see it's going to fill in all of the stuff as it goes, revenue data, pricing, and you can see at a glance what it's programmed to get, which is really cool. This is something that we haven't seen before. This is something where it's going to go through and get this data in a very, very specific way. And then what we do with it next is important because I can actually have Manus go through and make a 200-slide slideshow on 200 different blogs that make money. Then I can turn that into social media content, videos, whatever I want. So what it's doing is very, very specific way of searching the web. Here's another one that I did where I had asked it, go ahead and find all of the ways people make money with different AI tools. Okay, and I went into deep research. It took a while. This one took like an hour and a half or so. And it went through and got all the different things and the stuff that people use. Now, when it goes through and looks at the files in the task, this is the most important thing you want to look at, where we're like, okay, here's the consulting, here's the coding, here's the guide, here's the AI content. And you can see it's going to break them all up. Here you go, AI-generated blog and SEO articles. So what I'm thinking here is, okay, I can now turn these into images or slideshows, right? And it's very specific data that this is about. It's not just, here's another slideshow about money. No, this is something specific. And looking at this will really, really up your game when it comes to understanding your market and creating content that people actually want. Case in point, one of the things I was doing recently was this detailed research on why credit bureaus are allowed to sell leads after your credit is checked. I think it's one of the worst things allowed because, you know, when you go to get a mortgage, you're going to get like 100,000 bazillion calls from people you didn't ask. And it's kind of a pain. If you've ever had that, type something in the box. Let me know you've dealt with that. But going through here, I wanted to make content about this so that people understand it and understand that, you know, hey, here's how it works. Here's why you're getting the calls. Here's how to stop them or whatever it is. And so I went through and did deep research on why the calls happen.
It went through and it got all the data on like, okay, here's the law that makes it work. Here's the data selling stuff. Here's how it works. So it like shows it as a business. Data sales, 52% of total revenue. I mean, that's like, wow, okay, I didn't know that was how big their data sales stuff was. You think of these credit bureaus and you think it's just some helpful entity just keeping score, and it's actually not. It is a for-profit business that sells leads. Very, very interesting stuff to look into. Some of it, not so consumer friendly, but we're looking at it, we're like, okay, here's all the things that it looks at. Let's analyze the consumer impact. What does this mean for customers? Trigger leads, privacy stuff, all kinds of things like that. And it looks like, there are some things happening here legally, which is good for that. And starting to understand, okay, this is doing research at a next level kind of thing. It's going through and it's getting us the stuff that works. And I can say, now make a slideshow against this practice and showing mortgage companies how to generate good, high converting leads online. So I can turn this bit of content where it's like, oh, here's this issue, here's this thing that's happening, into now here's how to get leads the right way where people actually come to you. And it'll make a slideshow on that, and you can use that content in a very specific way. So understanding how this works, how it's different, how Google Deep Research can do some of this stuff. You see Google Deep Research. I mean, it does look at a bunch of sites, and then you can say, now list the sites and income. And we could see if it'll actually put that through. I think some of it will, and it does do a good job. And what I would do is I would pair these tools together so that you can get something that no one else has. Most people, when it comes to trying to build a business with AI, they're just doing what everyone else does, which is like, let's just compile some interesting stuff, rather than let's get this stuff for the purpose of this with the direct idea of getting this data. That way you have something that works, and now you could do, okay, here's how to, get help or whatever. Like this one here, I was researching challenges gym owners face. So I wanted to use wide research to say, okay, if I was going to create a software business around gym fitness help, right? We want to help these gym owners get more clients. Could I have this go through and get all the issues they're talking about? So it went through, it did the wide research. I said, use wide research to find things that gym owners struggle with when it comes to building their business online, and some solutions they seek, problems they have, and platforms they use. So we went through it, got like 15 things at the get-go. It says the challenge, the main problem, everything. Now it's going to come up and we hit start, and it'll do research on that, which is basically going to give me a snapshot of what I would need to do to go in there and build a better mousetrap for this business. Now, one of the other tests I did is I had it go through and try to appraise a house. And we were looking at it. It said, different things about it. And we're trying to see, I want to see how close it'll get. So hopefully it'll be done. We're almost going on 2 hours here for the house appraisal one. And I do have a house appraisal on the house in question. So it will be one that we can compare. But we'll see how it works. And I'll let you know in the comments below how that turns out. Now, going through and looking at this, I think this is really going to help us get next level information and deep research data to, one, help us understand our market, right? I could go out there and understand people who want to lose weight, or what people struggle with, or people have trouble buying this or buying that, and kind of how it works. And then I could turn them into slideshows. Like this one here, I did the state of the domain name industry, and it went through and it researched all the domains from 2023 to 2025, what the big ones sold for, what the market looks like, and kind of gave me an overview of everything. And we could see the domain industry is actually growing. .ai domains exploded 300% in 2024. We could see the data sources used. You could see like the network methodology, how it searched all these different things, which is kind of crazy. I mean, a lot of stuff. This is really, really detailed, high level, next level thinking type stuff, where now I can go through and use this to make content about the domain industry. And you could see it even has a summary where it says .ai domains got a growth, registration from 60K to 500,000 in January, and on we go. Top sales performance. Rocket led the sales at 14 million. gold.com, all these other ones that sold for a good amount, and it's giving me the idea of what's going on. And then one of the things I really like about Manus is also the fact that it gives you the slides and all the files that it used. So we could see the documents, we could see images, code files, pretty much anything. And then as it goes through, you'll see, okay, now it's going through membership management, social media marketing, and you could see that this is kind of like next level thinking where it's looking at everything, going deep on everything, and giving us an overview on what we would want. So for this example here, I can take this and make some content about these 110 different AI tools or micro software as a service businesses, which we talked about in yesterday's video. And going through and looking at this, I think this is big time a game changer. And you can see here, it did give me a list. It didn't tell me the blogs. It didn't tell me how they earned or where it got the data, but it did give me kind of an overview. So it's okay. But I'm seeing that this is something that we could see the content at a glance. We could see how it came up with it and everything. Also, when I look at this, I can see like, okay, now I can make multiple posts. Like I could go into gym owner groups and say, are you struggling with lead generation? Here's a tip, or here's a tool you can use, or whatever it is. And you're going to see when this thing's done, it's game changer. Here's one here where it's actually doing the slideshow for the credit one, and on we go. Here's one where I did the complete guide to making money with AI, 200 plus methods. Now I can turn this into a slideshow. I can look at the spreadsheet here and see exactly what's going on. You have the subject. Let's open this in a big one here. Subject, category, specific methods, right? So like if I was going to do social media posts, I could be like, method number 1 to build a business with AI content writing and copywriting. Sell this, here's where to do it. And it'll actually give you the full detail. I mean, this is pretty detailed. Look at all that. That's pretty cool. And I think we could probably just copy all that or download it or something like that. And then boom, there we go. And starting to look at this where it's like, I am getting data for the purpose of. And I want you to do that when it comes to AI. Think about, what am I doing this for? I think everyone likes to create content with AI, but they really don't know what it's for, whether it's social media, whether it's this, that, or the other. But now I can understand like, okay, this could be a post that I could put on a Facebook or a blog or something that would help people. And you can see it has all of that data there. Obviously, you want to make sure you fact check it and everything like that, but it does look like pretty solid stuff. I think apples to apples, this is by far the most detailed research tool AI powered out there. Like I don't even think there's a close second. This is it. And looking at this, we can do multiple posts, all the content at once. Something where I could set it, come back in a couple hours, and I have something I can take to market. It's going to do deep dives, and the key that I liked is it understands how to get data specifically based on what I want. So when I was doing something with the credit one, where we're talking about the mortgages or whatever, I'm looking for something very specific, like, oh, how does this impact this industry? And, you know, how can we get that into like helping mortgage company owners or whatever it is? Or something like this, where it's talking about the slideshow and it says, okay, the trigger lead problem, impact on consumers and your brand, regulatory, ethical lead gen. This is actually really good. So having a little webinar or a video about this would actually be very helpful. And it would help mortgage owners realize, okay, you can get leads in a better way without, you know, having a zillion people call a lead or whatever it is that just ends up making people angry. Now this one here, we have the micro software as a service tools. And again, I can build a slideshow around that. And understanding like, okay, this is helping you see everything at a glance. It's giving you very, very specific data, showing you exactly what's going on. And it really helps you understand your market in a different way. And as they say in copywriting, understanding your market is absolutely key. And if I can use this to get an overview of my market and understand what's going on, like this one, where it's saying, hey, these are the problems that gym owners have. It's going to go out there. It's going to look at Reddit. It's going to look at other sites and figure out what the problems are. And we can see as it's going through membership management retention struggles. So they're having trouble retaining their members. Low membership retention rates, 50% of new members quit within first 6 months, most after 90 days. This would be great. I could post that. It's going to resonate with my audience, and then I just point them to my product that I make, right? So going through even more, let's see what's on this next one here. I don't know if we can scroll over there. Let's see. I think it needs to wait. There we go. But you can see it's got a lot. So here's an example. Boutique Gym partnered with fitness micro-influencer, 21-day challenge. Gym management software cost $50 to $1,000 a month. And you can see, I mean, it's literally getting all the data we need right then and there. And when it's done, it'll overview it. I can talk to it about it. And it's way more powerful than just AI going out and, hey, figure this thing out or learn about this thing. You can see it's actually looking at multiple things at once, which I think it's actually processing multiple at the same time, which is really cool. Some others we can look at here. And again, looking at the costs of them, it's not even registering on the budget. I'm not seeing that this is costing a super amount. Here's the gym one, 82. So that'd be like, what, 80 cents or something like that. Or the credit bureau one, we're at 800 credits so far, micro software as a service. Again, the most expensive one was the domain one because it was super detailed. And you can see they do take a while. So it is like a, come back after lunch and see what you got kind of deal. But I think it does a really good job. And if you understand what you're looking for and why this would help you, that's absolutely key. And I'm a big fan of Excel spreadsheets. I think Excel was like the best program ever created because it actually goes through and I can see things at a glance, which is really, really cool. So now being able to use this and have this data, I could put this in Excel and say, okay, well, I posted that one, and then just kind of go through, like maybe import it into a content calendar or something like that and automate a lot of things, or give it to one of the automators and have it work that way as well. But going through and using this, I think it's a game changer. So I'm going to give this an overall rating of 5 stars. Clear purpose, yes, 100%. Solves a genuine problem, 100%. Performance, 100%. Speed, I'm going to give it a 2. It is slow, but you get what you wait for, right? I mean, if you expect something in 2 seconds, you're probably going to get 2-second work. This is one where if I was going to give it to an employee, it'd probably take all week. Now, business use cases, can it generate or enhance text content? 100%. Graphics and images, yes. Can it do video? Manus says it does video, but I think it's terrible. So we have yet to see. Nothing on audio. However, I can take the report from Manus and I could give that to like Notebook LM and get an audio. Or I can go through and have it create little micro videos on the different tools or blogs or whatever it is. Obviously, make sure I have the rights to talk about whatever I'm talking about. But going through there, I can get some really good content. Let's see here. Useful for social media, 100%. Email, 100%. Advertising, 100%. Helps with website optimization. Yes, absolutely. Research analysis. And I'm kind of seeing like, I can make really helpful stuff for my market by going through and saying, okay, now, make this tool, make this guide, make this report, or whatever it is. Assist with market research, big time. Analyze competition. Yeah, you can use it to check on your competition. Valuable for data, 100%. Trends and patterns, yes. So definitely helping there, not so much with customer service. I mean, it could do some stuff there, but I don't think that's the main use. Now, the pricing of Manus, it is kind of pricey at the Pro plan. I think I pay like $200 a month for it. But apples to apples, if I only had $200 and it was either my $200 ChatGPT or $200 Manus, I think as starting a business, Manus is going to win hands down. So I think it's going to do a lot more for you. Starting price of Manus, I think, is $29 or $39, which is fairly inexpensive. Do they have enterprise? They do have that available. Is it cost-effective, value for money? 1,000%. Had that report cost me 10,000 credits, I might rethink that and put it to like a 3. But, I mean, they're literally costing next to nothing. Pricing structure, flexibility, not really. I mean, they have 2, so, ROI potential, I think of all the AIs, this is one of the ones where there can be a direct ROI because we're getting that data, we're turning it into stuff that we can use. It's doing all the work. I think this is one that is absolutely going to change the game for people who know how to use it. Again, most people are going to get this and forget about it and not understand it and give up. For those who are willing to try it out, burn through some credits and get some bad reports and learn what it needs, I think those are the ones that are really going to get ahead in the game. And this is about understanding how to direct AI to give you what you want. Is there direct income potential? I could probably sell reports. I know a couple years ago, I was part of a website that had a bunch of niche reports on it, and I paid like $300 for it or something. So this could go out and create specific reports for you, like, oh, here's a report of the top competitors in the fitness market or whatever it is. That can work good. Again, make sure you have the rights to do what you're doing and everything like that. You don't want to step on anyone's toes. Make sure you follow all the platform stuff, disclose that you're an affiliate or whatever you're doing. But going through and looking at this, yeah, here we go. Here's their problems, primary problems and pain points. And then let's see. So lead generation and conversion, that's where they have trouble. Technology integration, they need multiple disconnected systems for different functions. So if I have a one size fits all, like the one I'm making for WordPress, boom. Budget constraints, expertise gap. They're fitness professionals, not marketers. Time management issues. So there's quite a bit here where it'd be like, okay, what would this look like as a tool, right? What would this look like if I was going to create a software about it? There you go. Game over. So looking at this, I think Manus wide research is an absolute game changer. I'm going to have some other tools and follow-up info at aiprofitscoop.com, along with some reports and some different prompts to make this work and different use cases that I would use it for, where this will help me get research quicker. Think of this as an intro part where it's like I'm getting the preliminary research and then I'm building on it. So overall, I think this is a tool that serious entrepreneurs should have in their arsenal. I think it's one that we're going to use over and over here and get those reports that'll actually work. So Manus Wide Research, I think, is a really good tool to use. Again, aiprofitscoop.com for all the use cases and info and things like that, including I'll put examples of some of these reports I made so that you can see them and see what the output looks like before you make a decision on which tool you're going to use. So thanks for being here. Smash that like button if you enjoyed this. Check out my other Manus videos in the description showing you other ways I'm using this tool to build my business, make money, and do everything with AI. Thanks for watching. Check out the links in the description, and I'll see you in the next training.